Day 2 of the Santos Tour Down Under, the IG Market's second stage from Talon Bend, the first time ever start here for the race, heading at the longest stage of the 6 days of racing to Manham, 146 kilometres. Riders never having finished in Manham, but they've started there a few times over the 13-year history of the event. Mike Turter pulling in the flag just after half a kilometre's ride out of town, and the riders in no hurry, but they would be soon because they were about to pick up a tailwind along the Princess Highway, and they'd be clocking speeds of over 60 kilometres an hour. For a while it made it too difficult, too quick for anybody to break away. Then there was an attack by the Ukrainian Yuri Kriptsov, who rides for the French AG2R Mondial squad. Over the beautiful Murray Bridge, the longest bridge over the River Murray and the earliest one ever built. And for once there's a lot of water in the river after the heavy rains around this country. The bunch now are just chasing one man as they raced into Murray Bridge itself, but very soon others would join him, and he was joined by David Tanner of the Saxo Bank Sungard team, in second place here at the moment, and on the attack again for the second day, Mitchell Docker of the Uni SA squad. He was wearing the Jayco Sprint jersey, but he wasn't the actual leader of this competition. Trouble then came to Mark Cavendish, the sprinter. A problem with his back wheel, a quick change, a good push, and he was soon back in the main field. Yesterday he finished right down the main field, but his teammate Matthew Goss had won the day and taken over the race lead. The first sprint of the day, that came at Kanman 2 after 53 kilometres of racing, and Tanner was the man who outwitted Kriptsov and Docker, but Docker was building the points in the Jayco Sprint competition. The riders themselves were riding at about a minute and a half's lead here as they continue to swing down through Woodside, heading deep into the Adelaide Hills now. As they were now, the next big challenge was the King of the Mountains, the Skoda Dorsley Hill, coming after 64 kilometres. A huge crowd watching the riders up this climb, and a sprint towards the top, and this time it was Mitchell Docker getting the better of Kriptsov in a close run finish. Dropping momentarily off the back, David Tanner, but the boys were in no hurry after only 64 kilometres had been covered of the 146, though they allowed Tanner to rejoin. The fourth place on the climb taken by Luke Roberts, and that was enough to keep him in the Skoda King of the Mountains leader's jersey. At the 50-kilometre point, the riders were only just over a minute ahead, but they'd now swelled to 6 riders because 3 had got across after the climb of Dorsley Hill. Into Mount Pleasant, 108 kilometres covered, and it was one of the new boys in the breakaway, Simon Zarner in the red jersey, who was taking on Mitchell Docker again, and Zarner, the new professional in his second year with BMC, snatching the points there. The field continues to speed towards the finishing line now in Manham, and only one man was staying clear of the field, and that was Tim Rowe, the young South Australian who's riding his first year with Team BMC. Once he was caught though, there was a difficult left-hand bend as they turned towards the finish with just under 4 kilometres to go. There was a mass pile-up. 3 of the race's main sprinters were involved in it. The one looking the most injured, Mark Cavendish, on the left of the picture, but also down Tyler Farrer, Chris Sutton. Other riders involved in the crash. Matthew Goss was lucky, he got around it and kept going. But there was an eye injury to Mark Cavendish, and he would have to get straight to the doctors once he'd crossed the finishing line. Then as they came into the last kilometre, racing up towards the finish through the Chicky chicane, the people of Manham have never seen anything quite like this. Team Sky still seemed to have control of the race, with Geraint Thomas, the British champion, leading out Ben Swift. It was a tremendous high-speed lead out as well, but the trouble wasn't over for the riders yet. Rushing up on the inside, Robbie McEwen. Ben Swift had to go, chased by Graham Brown, but as they came into the home straight, down in the centre went Geraint Thomas, hit by a Katusha rider on his left shoulder. Ben Smith was unaffected. He'd wrecked the course a couple of days ago. He knew where the finishing line was, and he got the victory, finishing ahead of Robbie McEwen. And that second place by Robbie McEwen would give him the overall lead at 38 years of age. Little Robbie zipping through on the rails there, getting the shortest run towards the finish. But there was a lot of riders left in the crash. Let's speak to the winner and then the crash victim, Thomas.
Oh, I can't believe it. Still, it's going to take a while to sink in, I think. I mean, we had a plan and it was just carnage in the end. There was a big crash and we lost our sprinter, and G made a really good call and he came in front of me, and then I would jump with about 200 metres to go, and luckily Robbie got the jump on me, but he just gave me someone to run at, but I can't believe it.
With about 200 metres to go, I was like out the left-hand barriers, I was hugging them and then stepped out a bit for Swifty to come on my left, but he came on my right, and then the whole bunch sort of just swamped me, and some guy just took my left side out, proper high sided, and boom, and yeah, and then took out a load of guys as well. So at least Swifty won, because if he hadn't won, I'd be kicking his ass right now.
Well, there'll be no need to do that. Ben Swift getting his first win in a Tour Down Under, and he's only 23 years of age. And a massive crowd here on the banks of the River Murray. But the new leader, one of the oldest men in the race, is Robbie McEwen. He will now take this race into day 3, but he's equal on time with 2 other riders.